here today to give this a positive or negative recommendation, and this is not a bill that ends here. It will travel from here back to calendar committee, and then it will be on the floor. And we do have an amendment that we're going to adopt. And so what I'm going to do, Chairman Lundberg, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion for a positive recommendation. Do we have a second? We have a second from Senator Bowling. And the amendment adds to the bill. So what we're going to do is go ahead and get a discussion on what the bill is, and then we'll adopt the amendment if that's okay with you, unless you prefer to do it a different order.
Yes, sir. Just one question. Can you give me the drafting code of the amendment? Is it traveling with 6142?
Amendment 16142 was already adopted in the Senate Education Committee, which makes the bill, but then we have 7115 to add to it.
Yes, sir. Perfect.
Okay. So we are already on the bill as amended by the Education Committee. And so if you want to go ahead and give a brief explanation of that, and then we'll add the amendment, unless you prefer to do it a different order.
No, sir, that's fine. What the bill before you does is vacates the TSU board and brings it down to 5. Also clarifies that who would be the appointing authority. The amendment before you will place TSU under Tennessee Higher Education Commission for the development and implementation of a corrective action plan. That plan will be presented both to the Education Committee of the Senate and Education Committee of the House, sir.
No later than January 1st, 2024.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move amendment number 1, which is drafting code 7115. Do we have a second? We have a second from Senator Bowling. We'll do this by voice vote. Any discussion on the amendment? We'll go ahead and adopt this by voice vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. So you are on the bill as amended. Any questions for the sponsor of the bill? Senator Oliver, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had a joint GovOps subcommittee on the constitutionality and makeup of the board, I think about a month ago, where we extended the term of this board to 1 year. I don't know if it was unanimously or not, but both House and Senate moved that forward. Since that time, what has changed to where we are now eliminating the current board? Has there been any conversations with TSU? What happened to where we are not giving this board, who sat in joint GovOps and gave a presentation to the committee from the audit and are making those corrective actions? What are we doing now that is different?
Thank you, Senator Oliver. We're required statutorily to have a hearing and make a recommendation. The recommendation is not binding, and it's subject to any legislative action that a member would make. So in other words, a member can propose an amendment to amend any bill as they see fit. In this particular case, the bill is going to travel through the Education Committee and then to the Finance Committee. And the Chairman of Finance and Chairman of Education were both very interested in this topic, and they offered the amendment that amended the bill. And it was, the amendment was adopted in the Education Committee, and that's how it has traveled to us. So it may be a little bit unusual, but it is all within the right of any member to amend a bill. And basically, since the amendment rewrote the bill, Senator Lundberg and Senator Watson signed on to the bill, and Senator Lundberg is now the prime sponsor of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That did not answer my question, though. What changed since that time? I get all the technicality, procedural things that happen with amendments, but in conversation with Tennessee State University, what has changed to where we now need to vacate the entire board, where we were about to extend them a term for 1 year?
I don't know that anything changed. I think that there was simply, if we look at 33 members, they had multiple opinions on what the path forward ought to be. And since the committee itself only reflected a portion of the Senate. Other members of the Senate weighed in and had differing opinions. So I don't know that anything changed as far as the facts and circumstances that led up to the hearing that we had. It's more just the response to the reaction of that, the interpretation of that by members. Different members had varying views on what the path forward ought to be. I don't know that I have an answer to your question, because that of the 33 of us, we all probably have a slightly different opinion on what should happen.
Okay. I noticed that this moves it down to 5 members, and we previously had a student trustee a part of this board, and I think that's very important to keep the connection to the community and to the TSU community. Having that student voice to reflect what's actually happening on campus. And so I think by removing that, we are creating a disconnect. And so why are we not keeping that position ex officio?
Thank you for that question. I'm going to direct it to the sponsor if that's okay. Chairman Lundberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a faculty member that's on this board, and I think that input, this board would probably welcome that input, I would hope. So, but I don't think right now, it's a smaller board and I would tell that board that they are designed to be smaller, to be more efficient, because there's a lot of work to do in a short period of time in which to do that work.
Thank you, Chairman Lundberg. Senator Oliver?
Again, I'm looking at the makeup of this board, and TSU has a unique culture on that campus. And we're asking the speakers of both chambers to appoint their appointees. And I'm not seeing where are they invested in Tennessee State University to where they know what the school needs and can make the appropriate appointees to direct the path and the future forward for this school in this time. I'm not seeing where this is going to have a positive effect on the campus if we are adding appointees that are not connected to the school, which traditionally that has been the case. They've been alumni of this university. There's a rich history of this institution, and if we're only basing this off of what the state needs and not the school, then that's a disappointment to me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Oliver. Any other questions for the sponsor of the bill? Seeing none, we have a motion for a positive recommendation. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Madam Secretary, if you would, please take the vote.
Senator Bowling.
Aye.
Votes aye. Senator Crow. Aye. Votes aye. Senator Jackson.
Aye.
Votes aye. Senator Cowell. No. Votes no. Senator Lowe. Aye. Votes aye. Senator Oliver. No. Votes no. Senator Rose.
Aye.
Votes aye. Senator Taylor.
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman Roberts.
Aye.
Votes aye, Mr. Chairman. You have 7 aye, 2 no.
Thank you. Senate Bill 1427, as amended, moves forward to the calendar committee. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
All right. Next